as a rough calculation, it would take the average Nigerian worker 1,638 years to earn the annual salary of a Nigerian senator. Well, to discuss this issue further, I'm joined in the studio now by the Nigerian analyst Lagun Akinloye. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So just when Nigerians were hoping that change, which was being, spoken about quite volubly by the APC party, means a better life for all.
5,000 naira a month for unemployed people in the country. There are numerous promises that he gave. Now he finally sat down and realized that Nigeria does not have that amount of money. He's looked into the coffers and has realized that they're basically empty. One question is how it got there, and the other question the one should ask themselves is why wasn't he aware of this beforehand?
That's a very good point, because of course some people would argue that it is almost irresponsible for a leader to make promises based on having no knowledge at all of whether or not you can actually fund those promises. But then I suppose that's something politicians all around the world do.
I think when he was moving from state to state during the elections, he was promising them all sorts. During the elections, you are going to tell people what they want to hear. Free this for all, benefits for here and there, and all the above. But going back to what you said, I personally think it's mildly irresponsible for him not to be aware of the state of the country before making those promises and before actually getting there. Nigerians expect a lot from him, and slowly by slowly, he is dimming the expectations.
Nevertheless, do you think he's starting on the right foot by making clear to all this is the condition of the country, and in a sense giving people forewarning that belt-tightening measures and a tremendous austerity can be expected?
Even before he assumed the role of president, Nigerians were aware, because of the global downturn of oil, Nigeria's biggest provider of foreign exchange, 98%, that Nigeria was going through a very hard time, and the buckling of belts would have to take place. All he's doing now is reinforcing that. But at the same time, doing that will cushion his role moving forward, and make Nigerian people aware that there might be tough times ahead.
And of course there's that little problem of $2 million almost being paid to senators in Nigeria.
Yes.
I mean, that is just an absolute scandal in a country that is a developing country. I mean, when you compare that to developed countries, I mean, that they pay, a tiny fraction of that sort of salary. I mean, how did it ever get to that point?
That's the question I continually ask myself. That how has it got to a point that yearly the average Nigerian salary reaches, I think, $1,700, and the yearly salary for a Nigerian senator is almost $2 million. Now, I think they increased it incrementally since Nigeria's return to democracy in 1999. Year on year, as a new Senate came in, they saw it as the honeypot. They are the ones in control of, legislation. So as a band of brothers, they, to themselves, pushed it up and up and up to the point.
Well, I don't like what they've done, but I like your description.
Yeah. So at the same time, I think it's somewhat shambolic. I think if you look at the state of Nigeria right now, if you look at the 27% unemployment rate, if you look at the poverty indicators, and you cross-reference it with what they earn at that level, it's a shame.
It's obscene.
Yeah, a real shame.
Now, meanwhile, as you correctly pointed out, their civil servants have not been paid, in some cases, for months. And that must mean that the corruption Mr. Buhari has promised to fight is getting worse. Because if you don't pay civil servants, what happens? They have a greater incentive to steal government money. So the system ultimately gets more corrupt.
I think there has been a fallout before and after these elections in terms of money management. I'm not going to totally absolve the government of Goodluck Jonathan for the sheer reason that the situation started under him. But the governors themselves of the 36 states and the ones who need the money are themselves to blame, because their accountants, their money managers should have made them aware that, listen, your month-on-month revenue will decrease. Therefore, you must find a contingency plan to pay your workers. It's not fair that in certain states, civil servants for 8 months have not been paid their wages. How will they feed their family? How will they live at the same time? And you're very right when I say that it encourages you to steal. It encourages you to go towards negative vices.
Absolutely.
If you have nothing to feed your family with.
Absolutely. Now, the question must be, how are Nigerians reacting not only to this development, but also to the arrival of General Buhari, because I hear, and this may actually be construed as positive, that, for instance, General Buhari's shadow seems to be looming large over everyone, and people are so terrified of his clamping down on them for corruption that many are apparently confessing to crimes of fraud and returning funds unbidden.
I mean, that to me, I've heard similar issues along those lines, but it does sound like it's been spun in a way to make it seem like, not the boogeyman per se, but if you say such things many times, people will start to believe. Buhari is well known to be a staunch advocate of anti-corruption, and people are taking after that and hopefully trying to change the psyche of Nigerians towards
It's
actually...
taking him a long time to get around to it.
I
mean, he hasn't appointed any ministers,
yes, I know,
he hasn't appointed any cabinet members.
There was somebody who actually went to court on Monday to see if there was a way to get him to appoint ministers quicker. He's saying that why is there a rush for it, that he's looking to survey the scenery on ground and then appoint people in the right positions. But at the same time, he had, I think it was 8 weeks, if not more than that, prior to becoming the president, to figure out what he's going to do when he gets there. Which leads me to believe, did the APC actually have a plan for when they're going into government, or was the objective just to become the leaders of Nigeria?
Yes, because you would have thought there'd be a shadow cabinet or something.
Yes, at least by now, yes, definitely.
Lagun Akinloye, thank you very much indeed.